Everybody, welcome back to the Riely and Friends channel and to the Riely podcast mega feed. I'm going to put this in both of those places. And folks, I gotta I gotta make some content, right? Both of those places I just mentioned have been barren, More pressingly the main channel. Nobody gives a shit about the Riely podcast mega feed. I'm just putting it there so that it's on podcast platforms. I don't want to make like the Riely manga review show feed. I'll just throw them on the mega feed. But the main channel, live streams are cool and all, but I gotta be uploading something. Just because it's weird to go to the videos section and see that they're all from like months and months ago at the latest. So I got into a manga mood recently. If you've been hearing any of my shows recently, you know that I now have a job that requires me to ride the bus for an hour there, an hour back. So I started reading some manga. First of all, I got back to One Piece, which I'm listening to somebody else's coverage of, so I don't want to do my own version. And plus, I'm already like 25 volumes in, and that's been the work of a couple of years, so it would be hard for me to get back through it. So that one's for me. But because I'm listening to a podcast along with One Piece, so I'm only reading one volume at a time, and then I have to listen to a whole podcast before I proceed. And my headphones were broken. I was like, fuck it, I'll start reading some more manga. Uh, and I started Dragon Ball Super and Pokemon Adventures, which I'll probably also do videos about. So yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna review Dragon Ball Super volume by volume, and I'm gonna review Pokemon Adventures volume by volume. And of course, in this video, as you can see in the title, we're talking about episode, volume one of Dragon Ball Super, which Super is a fascinating beast, right? Like, of course, I've seen most of the anime. I know what happens in the parts that I haven't seen. So like I know what happens in the Super anime basically. I have like 12 episodes left. It was a very slow process for me because well, it wasn't an issue with Battle of Gods really. I think I got through that arc pretty quick. I like Battle of Gods, but I don't like Resurrection F, and that problem is solved here, and we'll get there. But I don't like Resurrection F, even though when I sum up the Super arc and I sum up the movie. I do think the Super arc is better just because it has like some fun extra stuff that I do like that's not present in the movie. Like the stuff with Captain Ginyu and Gotenks and stuff. Like I thought those were good additions that made it a more complete story. But it still sucked. Like Resurrection F was always just hype and aura, unfortunately. Like it came out and I watched it and it was cool, but like the plot's not great. So, long story short, it took me like 3 years to get through the Resurrection F arc watching the Super anime, so that kind of put me behind. And then I was still pretty slow as I worked through the like Universe 6 tournament and Zamasu and shit. And now I'm on the Tournament of Power and I'm almost done, but it's been it's been a slow process, and I think it would be beneficial for me to reconsume the Universe 6 and Zamasu arcs and even Tournament of Power in a more like rapid together pace, which is what I'm hoping to achieve here. So I figure this is beneficial in a number of ways, and also the manga is a little different, so I want to see those differences as well. Of course, the manga is kind of the future, right? Because that's who Toriyama passed it to is Toyotaro Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball. Of course, unfortunately passed away. But he is not the mangaka of Dragon Ball Super in particular. He is a story writer on Dragon Ball Super manga, but it's Toyotaro who does the art. And Toyotaro, which is particularly cool as like an old school like super into fan fiction Dragon Ball fan, because that was the thing, right? Dragon Ball ended. for a long time. That's the weird thing about Super, because I remember being in the Dragon Ball fan base on the internet before Dragon Ball continued. There was a large hiatus, right, between the end of Dragon Ball GT in what, like the 90s, and then Dragon Ball Super in like 2016. Like we went years and years and there was no Dragon Ball. There were video games, but the video games were mostly just uh were all just the old story, because the video games only started doing new stories around when Super started, right? Because like Xenoverse was post Super, and that was really the first time, besides Shin Budokai Another Road for the PSP. That was like the only other time that they tried to do an original story in a Dragon Ball game. So we were starving for Dragon Ball content that was new. We got a bunch of cool video games where we could play as our favorite characters from what already existed, but we were starving for new content. So what me and a lot of other people did was we went to fan fiction material. And the ruler of Dragon Ball continuation fan fiction, and this is like a genre, right? Because there were all sorts of different ones, but there was one sort of centralized brand that a lot of people took a crack at and used like similar elements, and that was Dragon Ball AF, which I believe was some sort of April Fool's joke in some sort of official material. I don't know if I'm exactly correct on that. I didn't do any research on Dragon Ball AF, but at some point this was a name that was coined, and then everybody decided their Dragon Ball GT sequel fan fiction was going to be Dragon Ball AF. And it was going to feature Super Saiyan 5, which was a sort of Super Saiyan 4, but with Super Saiyan three's hair. But the fur and the hair were silver all instead of red and black. And sometimes his skin is red and sometimes it's not. That's one thing people can't agree on. I don't know why his skin would be red. That's kind of gross. But regardless, and there was also a villain character called Xicor, Xicor, who looks kind of Saiyan-y, but he's got like kind of weird bug features, and he's got like silvered black hair. Very edgy 2000s fan fiction villain Xicor was, and that was kind of the framework that people would base their Dragon Ball AF stories around. The one that I followed in particular was this YouTuber called Blaze Jakar, did a sprite based show where like there was no voice acting. It was like it would just like text would appear on the screen, and the text was like kind of poorly formatted too. Like I've gone back and watched this, and it's very rough. Like I still like it, but probably only for nostalgia based reasons. But that was not the most popular one. That was just one of the many that were out there. But arguably the most popular one was a manga by an individual who went by Toyble, who was Toyotarou. So that's one of the things that makes this manga so interesting, is that Dragon Ball is in the hands of this guy who was like part of the Dragon Ball fan fiction movement back in the old days, and that's like really cool. So I've always been interested in the Dragon Ball Super manga. I think it's about time I finally crack it open. Because actually, fun fact, manga is the only way by which I've consumed the entire old Dragon Ball in order. Right? Like I've probably seen most of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z in anime form, just out of order over the years, right? But I've never sat down and watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. But I did sit down and read the original Dragon Ball manga, which encompasses Z as well. So I read all the way from the Pilaf saga to the Buu saga during class in middle school because I was a slacker. A combination of during class and then at home too because I wanted to read it a lot, and I got through it pretty quick. And so that's the only, besides video games as well. I've played plenty of video games, so I've experienced the Dragon Ball story from beginning to end, plenty. But the manga is is like the primary form because of course that's the original. That's kind of the ideal way you're supposed to do it. Although the anime is pretty cool too. Uh, So yeah, I want to read the Dragon Ball Super manga. So that's what we're doing. That's what this 10 minutes of exposition has been about. So we start with the Battle of Gods arc, right? We dedicate 4 or 5 chapters to the story of Beerus and Whis, Goku becoming the Super Saiyan God for the first time. That classic story. Yeah, it's basically the first 4 chapters are Battle of Gods, and then the fifth chapter kind of starts floating into the next arc. And so it's very fast. That's the interesting thing about the beginning of this manga, which will bring up something else that makes that point even more. But it's just the pacing is fucking crazy fast as compared to the anime, because the anime had like filler and stuff and like would take its time. This manga is just fucking blasting so far, which like I don't know if I like, but I also don't know if it's going to continue to be a problem. Like I think they were kind of playing catch up a little bit at this point, because I think the anime outdates the manga by a little while. And of course, Battle of Gods is catch up either way, because the Battle of God movie outdates all of this shit by a couple of years. Um, so they just kind of blast through stuff. And I'm not like against it, but like it does feel rushed. Like I am feeling it. And I don't know if that continues through like the Zamasu arc and the Tournament of Power, or if they're kind of just like catching up to the anime at this point. I mean, the Universe 6 tournament arc, which I guess that spoils the kind of punchline here, but it's going to be one of the things we talk about. The Universe 6 arc is already like in motion, and I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but it feels like it's like close to being done. But the thing is, I don't think it was that long in the anime either. So it's kind of just a short arc in general. So I don't think that's a big deal. But like Tournament of Power, Battle of Gods blasted by, and I'll just say it now. They took Resurrection F out. They didn't do it. We go right from Battle of Gods to Goku and Vegeta planning fucking training on Whis' planet. And there's just like one panel that's like there was an incident where Frieza came back to life and they had to fight Frieza. And that's when they use Super Saiyan Blue, which is now in the manga, and that's the whole point of this, is to explain Super Saiyan Blue, basically. So that was pretty funny. It is what Resurrection F deserves overall. Like fuck Resurrection F, who cares? Skip that one. We want to do the Universe 6 tournament, which I respect them for. But Battle of Gods gets a nice solid 4 chapters. It's a fun story. Here's the thing. I'm also going to talk about my feelings on Super in general, as well as my feelings on the manga in particular, kind of as we go here. This is kind of going to be, I'm going to try to give all of my thoughts about Super as in depth as possible in this podcast review presentation. My overall opinion on Super as things stand now is that it is fun and cool, and I like it. But it is of a much lower quality than Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And there are a lot of character decisions made that are very frustrating. And overall, I feel like Dragon Ball would be a better quality story when all was said and done had Dragon Ball Super never happened. That being said, I like when Goku and Vegeta fight strong bad guys and do cool stuff. So Dragon Ball Super happened, and I'm glad it did, because now we have more of that. And there is good character stuff still along the way, but it's just some decisions that are made just I don't vibe with. I've actually heard rumor. So my one of my biggest gripes, right, is that Goku is stupid. Like he's really stupid. He's always been kind of stupid. But as Dragon Ball Z progressed, he kind of got older and wiser and became more sagely, and like he made mistakes, but all of his mistakes were predicated on like a misguided obsession with making sure the Earth was safe when he was dead, right? Because like his biggest mistakes at the end of Dragon Ball Z were leaving Cell for Gohan, instead of like trying to surpass Cell himself. Whether or not he could do that is a different question, but his plan was to let Gohan do it. Gohan doesn't like to fight. Gohan is a young little kid. Leaving it on him was kind of an L. And what was certainly an L was not killing Boo. Because from what I'm told and from how the story frames itself, I also believe, based on observation, I think Goku just straight up says it in the manga, but I could be wrong, that Goku as a Super Saiyan 3 could have killed Boo when he fought Fat Boo, when he did the whole when he first shows Super Saiyan 3 and he's giving Boo the whole presentation about Super Saiyans, and then he beats the shit out of Boo as Super Saiyan 3 for a little while and then he leaves. I've what I'm told, Goku could have killed him there. But decided not to because he wanted to leave him for Goten and Trunks because again he wanted to make sure there was somebody to protect the Earth when he was dead. So those were the stupid things Goku was doing in Dragon Ball Z. That was him trying to plan for the future and like not really thinking it through. But that wasn't like, ooh, I'm a goofy idiot. It was just like misguided decision making. Like it's a different kind of stupid. Whereas here he's just like he's a goofball. Sometimes he cares about like the earth and stuff, but like less so than before. And he's like really battle hungry, even more so than he was in Z. And then there's Vegeta, who he's kind of by the end of Z, he's kind of humanized, right? Like that's kind of the point, is he kind of loses touch with the whole like Prince of All Saiyan shtick and becomes more human, which is extenuated in GT, which is why I've always said, for all of GT's shortcomings, the character development of Vegeta, not fight wise, but character wise, is far superior in GT. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to do a lot of fighting in GT, and he gets to do more fighting in Super, and he also has good character stuff in Super. Vegeta, pretty much always a good character, right? Like, his reversion to being more Prince of All Saiyan Z again is annoying, but he still has really satisfying character moments throughout. So, so that's the issue overall. I think the characters of Goku and Vegeta might be my biggest issue with Dragon Ball Super. I think it kind of loses touch with what those characters were becoming, and maybe that's the kind of thing where it's like they kind of made those development decisions because they thought that was the end, and then when it wasn't the end, they kind of looked them over and they're like, we don't know how interesting a story about these characters is going to be unless we add some of these flaws back in or like make them more extenuated. So that might be kind of the reason behind that. But I've heard rumor that it's actually, at least on Goku's side, it's improved in the manga. So I'm interested to see. Goku has not been too much of a fucking goofball yet. Like he's kind of just standard Goku so far. So I can't quite speak to it. We'll see how it goes. Being less filler is probably very beneficial in that Goku's not like bumbling around and saying stupid shit as much because there's not as much opportunity because he's busy fighting the main villain because they're skipping all the filler. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over time. But Battle of Gods, fairly standard, a little fast paced, as compared to the movie. Of course, all the fun stuff on the ship is skipped, but like you could just watch the movie or the anime for that, right? Like the Battle of Gods arc in the manga is a formality. They respected Battle of Gods enough to give it the formality of having a 4 chapter arc, whereas Resurrection does not get such a treatment. It's just like, yeah, that happens. Don't really worry about it. It's not that important. But yeah, Goku versus Beerus, well choreographed. Super Saiyan God. I love the design. It's unfortunate that it does not appear again until the Tournament of Power because they came up with Super Saiyan Blue, decided that was better. Although they might do Super Saiyan God in the Zamasu arc actually in the manga. I think that's another thing I've heard, but I'm not sure of. Like Vegeta might use Super Saiyan God against Black or something. We'll see what happens. But also I feel like Beerus. It's kind of interesting. Beerus in the movie and Beerus in the anime, he kind of makes a point of being like I'm not destroying the Earth because I'm like tired, so I can't make like an energy attack that's strong enough to like blow up the planet efficiently, or like I've fallen asleep and now my attendant is going to take me home. For because of this weird pride thing, right? Because like he made a promise to blow up the Earth, he has to keep it, and the only reason why he isn't is because he can't at that moment, and he will in the future. Which I guess is still what he's saying, but it's just in the manga, it's very matter of fact. It's just like I guess I won't destroy the Earth today. Like he doesn't make any he doesn't do any theatrics that excuse it without him like just being like, yeah, okay, fine. But regardless, either way, yeah, they make peace, and then we go right to Goku and Vegeta training with Whis, which is from Resurrection F, but we skip that part, as I said before. Frieza came, Frieza got killed, whatever. And what's interesting is throughout the Resurrection F arc, which I do not believe this was present in the original anime, or at least not like right away as it is in the manga, is Champa and Vados being like around. Like we kind of get coverage of them like sneaking around in the background collecting the Super Dragon Balls in Universe 7, which then comes to a head after the Battle of Gods arc when Champa challenges Beerus to the Universe 6 tournament for the Universe 6 tournament arc, of course, you pick 5 warriors, I pick 5 warriors, we do a tournament. Winner gets the Super Dragon Balls, or winner gets to keep Earth, right? Because that's what the Super Dragon Balls are used for. Or maybe no, winner gets whatever wish they want, I think. But that's what Champa wants, is he wants to steal Universe Seven's Earth and put it in Universe Six because humanity is extinct in Universe Six's Earth because they killed each other, which we might be on Universe Six Earth, folks, but I won't go too deep into that. So yeah, that's what Champa wants, is to steal Earth because there's delicious food there. Because of course that's the bit behind Beerus. If you're doing this the like pure, if you've never seen Dragon Ball Super before and you're reading the manga volume by volume along with me, and you don't know the details about Beerus, which is going to be the case for no one, but it just feels appropriate to address because I'm reviewing the first volume of the material and I'm expecting people to have already seen the material, which for the most part they will have. But I don't know why I'm overthinking this out loud. But regardless, Beerus just wants to eat. That's a silly thing about Beerus. And let's talk about Beerus and the destruction gods in general. Beerus and Champa and their implications on the series, and Whis and Vados and all of those people. And of course, there'll be other beings we'll meet later in a similar vein. Um, I don't know how much I like this whole new god system in Dragon Ball. Because it's like a retcon to make the story continue to be interesting, right? Because I guess they kind of logic themselves into a wall where they're like, okay, because there were gods. We thought we knew all the god lore in Dragon Ball. There was the guardians that would guard the planet, like that was Kami, and then there was King Kai who would guard who was the god of the galaxy, and then there was Supreme Kai who was the god of the universe, and that's the gods. That's what was going on. There was also King Yenma, who was the keeper of the other world. That's how deities worked in Dragon Ball. And Goku and Vegeta and friends and co had become stronger than the gods. Goku and Vegeta and Gohan in particular had surpassed the gods. Like we had the Supreme Kais who were supposed to be the gods of the universe, and Goku and Vegeta and Gohan are stronger than the gods. And that was the case. And that was cool at the end of the series because they were in the last series. So they're like, okay, here's this like super powerful demon villain who's more powerful than even gods can handle. But now Goku and Vegeta and Gohan have become so strong that they're also stronger than the gods. So they are the universe's final hope against this demon character. That makes sense as a final arc. But then you do more arcs and you're like, oh shit. So now that we've made them stronger than gods, if there's too many people stronger than them, it's weird. Cause like, how are there so many people who are stronger than God? So they said, okay, what if God is actually just like half of God, right? Like instead of having one God of the universe, there's a Supreme Kai who's like the God of life. And then there's the God of destruction who's like a God of death. And he goes around and he maintains balance in the universe by destroying planets and fucking wiping out civilizations because there can't be too many. So there has to be just a guy, an impartial, like super all-powerful god who flies around the universe and blows up planets. So that's what they did. That's how they increased the stakes of Dragon Ball. Is they're like, okay, there's these impossibly strong gods of destruction guys, and they're like the ceiling, and then there's the angels who are a little stronger, who are like who seem impossible to really reach, and there's another character who we'll talk about later who's even higher, who's like the most impossible level, who they could never possibly surpass. But the first kind of big barrier is the gods of destruction, who just mock Goku and Vegeta. They couldn't possibly dream of touching Beerus or Champa. At this point in the story, certainly, and maybe even now, debatably. Um, so that was their solution: is we're gonna change the lore. Now there's gods of destruction, and they're like stupid strong, and that kind of annoys me, right? Like it kind of makes it. The Boo Saga kind of made it a point because it was the end to tell us, like, yeah, now these characters have fought so hard and come so far, and now they're like the strongest in the universe ever. And then you do Dragon Ball Super, and it's like, no, they're not actually. Like, obviously, Dragon Ball GT, that's the case too, but like, there's reasons behind it. Like, it's either stuff that they've directly influenced, or yeah, it's all stuff they've directly influenced, right? Because there's Baby, who is a relic of the Saiyans past, and all of his power comes from Vegeta directly. So that's another reason why he's so strong, in his final form. Then there's Super 17, who we already had 17. He was already really strong. Makes sense. You take another 17, put them together, bing bong boom. They're really strong. That arc sucked, but like it's not that I don't believe Super 17 as a premise. It's just that the arc sucks. And then there's the Shadow Dragons, which are the Dragon Balls. The misuse of the Dragon Balls makes sense, directly influenced by the cast. So those all are arcs that were designed that it makes sense that they're threats to them, even though they're stronger than the gods. When they did Super, they're like, we're not doing that for every arc. We're just gonna make stronger gods. And I don't know how I feel about that overall. But I don't dislike Beerus and Whis or Champa or Vados as characters. I enjoy some of their interactions with the story and with other characters, but I don't know if I like this power scaling system because it's just such a huge retcon to a story that was over. I think that's why it's so weird. Like they made a point to end the story, even well they did GT, but then yeah GT ended and that was really the end. Right, like Goku went off. Goku's dead. They did this whole weird like thing where it's like a vague metaphor, and you don't really know if you're a dumb kid on your first viewing, but like Goku is dead actually. It's a whole thing. But regardless, it's the end. Z was an end. GT did its best to make sense to be after the end, and then it had an end. And then Super is like, we're not even gonna do it after Dragon Ball Z. We're gonna do it in this weird time skip area between the end of the Buu arc and the end of Dragon Ball Z, which was an extra couple of episodes of like 10 years later. They enter the World Martial Arts Tournament. They just like they just ignore that pretty much, and they're just like, okay, after the Buu arc, we're gonna put all this stuff that we made up now. It's just weird that they did it that way. Like, did they not want to write like Pan? Were they really attached to Goten and Trunks being little kids? Like, what was the motivation behind not putting it? Did they not want to write Oob or Pan? Is that the thing? They just like couldn't come up with anything for those characters. I don't know. It's just weird that they did it like that. But regardless, for what it is, I enjoy it. I enjoy Beerus and Whis' characters. Battle of Gods is a cool arc. versus Beerus is a pretty damn good fight. But I don't know how I like this setup, but it's just kind of we have to accept it now. Super is part of the franchise. It's canon. That's the thing is like people could take or leave GT at their leisure because it wasn't canon. It could be canon in your mind if you wanted it to be, but it didn't have to be. Super is. So it's like it's harder to make these surrenders and be like, yeah, whatever, who cares? Because it's like, no, this is what happens. This is real. But regardless, yeah. So we get an early preview of Champa and Vados. They're collecting the Super Dragon Balls. They show up. They make this wager. They do a food battle first, which is where Champa taking Earth comes up because Champa brings him some like fancy ass alien eggs, and Beerus is like, "Here's an instant ramen cup," and he wins the food battle. And Champa loves the instant ramen so much, and he's like, "Where'd you get that? Earth? Yeah, yeah, yeah." Blah 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 blah. And they do the tournament idea, which of course Goku's thrilled about. Vegeta seems weirdly hesitant. I don't know if it's because like Bulla's already on her way at this point. I forget exactly what the timeline is on that. But Vegeta's weirdly hesitant, whereas Goku's like, yes, yes, I would love to do a tournament. Let's do a fucking tournament. That'd be cool as shit. I'd love a tournament. And then this is a plot point that's always confused me. So I get the logic, but like Vegeta should have kept his mouth shut and just like dealt with the scenario, right? Because Vegeta was like, okay, we don't want some like bloodthirsty maniac who doesn't even understand what life is and is just like a ball of rage and death competing in this tournament. So we have to do a written test. But Vegeta knows first of all that Goku's on the team. And second of all, I'm sure he probably thought of Boo also, even though that's who Goku brought up. But even if you're not thinking of Boo, Goku, would struggle on a written test. He just barely passes. He gets 50 out of 100, which is the minimum passing score. And then there's Boo, who fails because he's fucking goofball ass Boo. And it's like, Vegeta, this is your fault. And instead of picking another candidate, which they easily could have done last minute, they're just like, no, it's 4 versus 5 now, which is fucked. That's cheating. You can't do that. But regardless, of course, Goku and Vegeta don't care because they're Goku and Vegeta. They just want to do a fight. So it's Goku, Vegeta, it's Piccolo, and it's Monaka, who is this whole. So Whis is Beerus's master, or Whis is Goku and Vegeta's master. Like they're training under Whis properly, but Beerus also, I guess, just wants like strong people to fight. So he's like, if Goku and Vegeta get stronger, then I'll have stronger people to fight. So I also want Goku and Vegeta to get stronger. So I've had this cool idea where I'm just gonna find this like weirdo, this alien weirdo looking dude. And I'm gonna be like, this is the strongest guy ever. He's way stronger than you. And I'm just gonna like play that false narrative. And I'm gonna be like, look, he's so strong that he shouldn't even have to bother with this fucking gay tournament. So you guys better win without him, because he's gonna be like pissed. if you if you make him fight. So that's the gag, right? So now it's basically 3v5. It's up to Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo to take down 5 super strong opponents from Universe 6. Really Beerus screws himself over with this whole training thing, but I guess it is kind of a subtle way to prove his faith in Goku and Vegeta, right? So that's cool. That's kind of a cool little thing, I guess. And he's trying to like give them something to strive towards because they want to be stronger than Monaka, and that's a more realistic goal than being stronger than Beerus, I guess. So he wants to provide them with an actual goal they can attain. So yeah, we start the Universe 6 arc. We have Goku fighting first, which is always a strange choice in like an elimination tournament like this. Cause the way the rules are set, it doesn't seem like you can like tag out, tag in. Like a guy goes in, they go in the ring, somebody loses, they keep going, and the same person from each side stays in the ring until they go down. That doesn't end up being exactly how it goes, of course, which we'll learn more about in the next volume. But that is the case here. So it's weird to put Goku out first. Like even if like Goku and Vegeta, neither of them wants to admit that one is stronger than the other, like put out Piccolo first. let him kind of test the waters before you put the strong guys out there. But Goku goes out first. He fights Botamo, who's a big giant Winnie the Pooh man. Who I like him. He's cool. He's just fun. I like that there's a big Winnie the Pooh man in Dragon Ball. I'm sad he's not playable in Sparking Zero. I'm pretty sure no Botamo in there. It's tragic, but yeah, Goku fights Botamo. Botamo is basically a pushover. Like Goku like just barely can't beat him as like a base, and I think he beats him as a Super Saiyan. He might not even use Super Saiyan. No, he doesn't. He doesn't turn Super Saiyan Frost. Yeah, so he just has base, like fights Botamo. Botamo has his like invincibility ability, but then Goku's like, I'll just throw you out of the ring, and then he does. So that's Botamo down. And then Goku fights Frost, who it's kind of in the middle of that fight where we end this volume. Frost is the Frieza clone. Everybody's like, what the fuck, Frieza? But he's like, no, I'm Frost. I'm a nice guy, actually. Look at me and how nice and cool I am. And Goku and Frost fight. Frost is in Frieza's first form. So Goku's like, I know you can transform. Go ahead and do that. And then he transforms into his third form, which everybody knows it's not his final form. It's bullshit. Goku fights him for a while. And then I think the volume kind of ends with Goku turning Super Saiyan and then Frost turning into his final form. Yeah, that's basically the end, right? It's like Frost is in his third form. He fights Goku and Base for a while, and then Goku's like, "You better turn final form because I'm gonna finish you off right now." And then he goes Super Saiyan, and Frost transforms into his final form, and that's where the volume ends. So yeah, we're already deep into the Universe 6 tournament through the first volume. So yeah, that's a pretty fucking crazy fast pacing. But I'm having a good time. I liked the little refresher on Battle of Gods. It was fun. It was quick, but it was fun. And then the Universe 6 stuff has been really cool so far. Even though again it's a little quick, but hopefully they're just kind of rushing it to Goku versus Hit, and that's like a little more. You get to sink your teeth into that one a little more. That's what I'm hoping. Which we get to see Hit for a second, but we don't really get to see any of his get to know anything about him yet. We do get Kaba, right? Kaba's also there. Of course, we see the Universe 6 competitors who are Botamo, who Goku fights in this volume, Frost, who Goku ends the volume as in the middle of fighting. There's Kaba, who's a Universe 6 Saiyan from a peaceful version of the Saiyan race that never fucked up their original home planet. And interestingly enough, I think in the anime they say that the Universe 6 Saiyans never had tails, whereas in the manga they say that they don't have them anymore. Maybe I'm just remembering the anime wrong, but that kind of threw me off. That Kaba said that Universe 6 Saiyans used to have tails, but they don't. But they don't now. But yeah, he's from planet Sudala, which is the ancient Saiyan planet, and the Saiyans are like a peaceful warrior race who help other people when they're getting attacked. And Vegeta and Kaba kind of make this little promise where Vegeta's like, "You'll have to take me to planet Sudala someday. Don't worry, we don't we don't conquer other planets." Which I wonder if that's because they're gonna skip Vegeta and Kaba's fight, because doesn't that happen afterward in the anime? Again, it's been years, so it's hard to really say things with my chest. But I feel like Vegeta kind of plays in. Actually, we do destroy planets, but maybe that's not exactly what it is. He just like pretends to be mean to get Kaba to go Super Saiyan. But anyway, so yeah, there's Vegeta, who's the big robot who we'll get later, I'm sure. And then there's yeah Kaba, and there's Hit, who's the man, of course. He's the guy, and we'll see him fight Goku eventually. But yeah, that's where we end things for this particular volume. Is Frost has finally reached his final form. Goku's showing off Super Saiyan for the first time, and Kaba and Vados are like, "Whoa, our Saiyans can't do that." And that's kind of the end. So solid first volume. I'll do like favorite character, favorite scene. Although I guess like kind of splitting a manga into a scene That's not exactly how you would split it, but like I'll explain. I'll give like a my favorite part. What's your favorite part? There you go. Favorite character, favorite part. Rate the volume out of 10. So my favorite character this particular volume. I mean, probably Goku, right? We're kind of catching back up with him and his deal. He was charming in the first chapter, they do the kind of they do that same beginning of Super where like he's a farmer and he's tending the fields to make money for Chi Chi, and then he has Goten try to do farming for him while he turns Super Saiyan and does image fighting. And then Goten drives the tractor off a cliff, and Goku has to save him and be like, "You gotta be less shitty at the tractor, my 10-year-old son." But like, yeah, he's charming. Like that's normal Goku. Like that is something Goku would think about because he's like a fighting ape man. Like he's a sagely warrior, but he doesn't understand vehicles, right? So he doesn't understand that Goten can't drive the tractor because he's 10. He's like, yeah, whatever, this is easy. Goten could do this. But yeah, Goku was charming. Goku was cool when he fought Beerus and when he fought Botabo and Frost. And I really like how Goku looks. Goku and Vegeta both. Like I like Toyotaro's art style a lot. I'm really into it. So I'm excited to read more and see some of Dragon Ball Super's hit clips in that sort of art style, and also the stuff which I'm very excited about after the Tournament of Power, which is only in the manga, which is the real meat and potatoes of why I'm doing this. But I wanted to read through the other stuff first because it's different, and also because it's been a while since I've seen the Universe 6 and Zamasu stuff, especially Universe 6. Zamasu, I think I finished like a year ago, but Universe 6, I think, was a good couple years ago. But I just thought it'd be fun to go through the whole thing. So here we are. Good first volume. I'm excited for the second. The name of the volumes have names, and the name of the volume is "The Winning Universe is Decided." So I do in fact assume that we will be concluding the Universe 6 arc in the next episode. And I think another feature of this little review show I'm going to do is I'm going to rank the arcs based solely on the manga content. I'm going to rank the arcs. So obviously, next time we'll be talking about what's better, Battle of Gods or Universe 6. I don't think it's a hard question. I think you can think in your heart. That Battle of Gods is only 4 chapters, and it was kind of just a formality. But we're gonna rank it along with all the other arcs, and of course Moro and Granola when we get there. And Black Frieza, is that the current arc, or is it the current arc the superhero arc technically still? I don't know, but I know everything up to at least like Moro is rankable at current. I don't know if we're in the middle of Granola still, or if Granola's done, and now we're doing superhero, or we're doing Black Frieza. These are the things I don't know because I haven't been reading the manga, so we'll learn together, or at least I will start to look things up for ranking purposes closer, and I will have a little bit more insight as to what's going on. But regardless, yeah, there you go. Favorite part of this volume. Probably Goku versus Frost. Like it was just well drawn. I was enthralled by the fight. Just as a character thing, I like Goku and Frost kind of mutual. Like we know, we both understand what each other is doing, and we both want them to stop. Like just show me what you're about. And they're both kind of like teasing back and forth. And of course, Goku's still teasing because he's got a lot of power he hasn't shown. He just went like regular Super Saiyan. As far as I can tell, I'm pretty sure it was Super Saiyan and not Blue. But yeah, probably Goku versus Frost. It's my favorite part of this volume. And then rating it out of 10, solid, solid 8 out of 10 volume. It's not, there's nothing like crazy award winning in this volume, but it was fun. Again, I like Battle of Gods, a fun little summation of that. The Universe 6 tournament has been fun so far, and we know there's more to come that's going to be even better as far as the Universe 6 tournament is concerned. So yeah, solid 8 out of 10 volume. Good start for Dragon Ball Super. So there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this manga review. I'm gonna try to do these more often. I'm gonna try to get guests because I know I suck as a solo guy. I'm sorry that this probably sucked ass. But I'm doing it for fun. I'm trying something new. I hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, we'll see you for uh probably sooner, volume 1 of Pokemon Adventures, but that's gonna be a separate playlist on the YouTube channel, so we'll also see you if you're watching that playlist for the next Dragon Ball Super volume. I'm overthinking this out loud and I shouldn't be. But anyway, fuck you. See you next time. Bye.